Hello, everyone. My name is Marilyn, and I am back here with Kyle. We are between two flasks yet again to talk to you about PhD programs. So there's lots of different fields that you can get a PhD in. So today, Kyle, why don't we focus in on just those biomedical PhD programs? So can you tell me a little bit about what is a biomedical PhD program? Who should attend? Do I have to pay for it? Let's dive in.
A biomedical PhD program is a graduate program that focuses a lot of attention on independent research. These programs might be something like molecular cellular biology, immunology, neuroscience, etc. There's a lot of fields, as you mentioned. Other aspects of a PhD program include taking courses, maybe a teaching experience or two, and finally finishing with a thesis to defend your PhD. Programs typically last 5 to 6 years, which is longer than many marriages.
I know you just got married, Kyle, and I'm confident your marriage will last longer than the traditional PhD.
Pretty sure. We're only in month 2, so we'll see how we go.
Got time.
But I'm sure 5, 6 years will be no problem. Most biomedical PhDs will take care of your tuition, provide health insurance, and even a stipend or a salary. For instance, the UW Basic Sciences programs were making $45,000 last year.
So it's enough to live on for sure. You're not, working for Amazon or Google, but you can survive, and your tuition and your degree is essentially paid for, right?
$45,000 doesn't go as far as you might like it to, but that tuition, not paying for health insurance, those kinds of things really add up.
Yeah, that's significant. And so when I'm thinking about applying to PhD programs, what sort of components of a program should I be thinking about when I am choosing a program?
There's a couple different things to really focus on when you're choosing a program. The first one might be courses. And there are 2 different kinds of courses. Some of them are specific courses that you have to take for your major. And then there's courses or programs that allow you to take any courses related to your major. It kind of depends on what you want from a curriculum standpoint. Do you want set classes that you definitely have to take? Or do you want courses that you can kind of mix and match to make your degree?
So if I'm still exploring what I want to do, I'm interested in lots of different areas of research, I might want a PhD program where I have more flexibility in the types of courses I can take, right? Whereas if I know I want to pursue a career as a neuroscience researcher, for example, a program that has more specific courses kind of stipulated in the curriculum related to neuroscience might be a better fit.
My big advice is if you get to choose your courses, choose ones that will help you further your professional or personal goals. Another thing to consider when choosing a program is whether or not you have to complete teaching experiences. Most programs will have you complete at least one teaching experience as part of your degree requirements, but some will require you to complete teaching assignments multiple years to pay for your degree. That can be a lot of work. When you're doing a teaching experience, you're often setting up the classes, making the lectures, cleaning up the lab, or even just answering student emails.
So if I wanted to be a teacher at an institution like University of Washington, for example, I might want to look for programs that have more opportunities or even more requirements for TAing and teaching to get some of that experience. Whereas if I know I want to work at a biotech where teaching is not going to be required, I might want to look for programs without that same requirement.
Absolutely.
And then thinking about sort of who you're doing your research with, do I, as a student, get to pick who my mentor is or where I'm doing my research, or how does that whole kind of black box work?
Yeah, there's usually 2 types of programs. You have your placement programs where you apply broadly to a program and maybe list some faculty you'd like to work with, and then you get placed in one of those labs at the start of your first semester. Or you maybe go to a rotation program. A rotation program allows you to try out a couple different labs each term, get to test out, maybe try a little bit of an experiment, see how it goes. And oftentimes you're given a graduate student or a postdoc to help you get acclimated to that lab.
Rotations sound a little bit more like dating. It's a little bit like speed dating, different labs.
Yeah, you're trying out different things, and like dating, you're trying to figure out who's the best fit for you. And it's not just the PI fit or the research fit. You have to get along with the whole lab, right? So it's fit with the other graduate students or staff scientists. You want to make sure that you're feeling like you're entering a lab where you feel welcome and like you belong.
Is the advice here, don't date just the PI, date the whole lab?
That's absolutely correct. We're trying to make sure that you're looking out at all things that might impact your career. And one thing to know is that I've seen students choose a lab just based on the PI in the lab and wasn't really concerned about the science. And that person or those people often have really great relationships with their PIs and can go a long way in terms of your collaboration.
Okay, so your first year is really either rotating or getting placed in a lab, kind of dating around a little, if you will, to figure out where you want to do your research. What can students expect after that first year?
The next step is likely literature review, making sure you have all the background and necessary information to work on your project, to design your project, and to move on to the next steps and complete those experiments. After that, you'll probably put together your committee.
Dun, dun, dun. A committee, that sounds scary.
It does sound scary, but your committee is there to provide advice, assistance, and resources. You should be putting people on your committee that you feel comfortable talking to, as you'll need to meet with them yearly.
So the committee is not something to be scared of, right? They're not a big oversight committee that's looking down, trying to see you fail. They're really there to provide kind of a feedback loop and give you the resources and support you need to get through your PhD.
Even to the point where when students are getting to their 4th or 5th year, I'm suggesting that they're meeting every 6 months rather than every year, because you never know what advice or resources you might get that might change the trajectory of your final couple of years.
So you're getting started on your research, you've set up your committee. What comes next?
So the next thing is the preliminary exam.
Dun, dun, dun. That one for sure sounds scary. Yeah, preliminary exam.
That one is scary, and often students are very stressed about it. And you can't really do much about it except let them know the reason for the preliminary, or some programs will call it a general exam. And the reason for it is to let you give an hour presentation with a closed door session with your committee to ask you questions to make sure that you're prepared to graduate. So they're asking questions to make sure that you know your project backwards and forwards, that you're able to explain it in front of a group of people, and answer questions after your presentation in a manner that they feel is successful for a PhD candidate.
So even though it's scary, they're really trying to help prepare you to be able to defend your thesis and graduate.
Absolutely. It's there as a resource to make sure that you're on track.
And so after your preliminary exam, what comes next?
You might be finishing up courses or completing that teaching experiment that we referred to, but generally you're just completing your independent research and maybe going to conferences, trying to present your work, right? And so after that, you write your thesis and you defend. And just like that, you are Dr. Drennan.
Dr. Shea.
Love
just
that.
Like that. You've got your PhD.
Seriously though, while it does seem like a lot, it's all a sequential process that allows you to grow as a scientist.
And it sounds like there's a lot of support at every step of the way to kind of help you succeed.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm ready to get my PhD.
Let's go get it.
Let's go get your PhD.